Cryptids are a favourite topic of mine. Often these creatures are thought to be undiscovered species, which have had myth and legend grow up around them, the sightings and the stories of sightings adding to legends. But what if an animal is created by science? Does that creature fall under the banner of cryptozoology? This is the question we have to ask of the animals featured in this video. Is there a species of shark created by science that has become mind-controlled? Did Israeli scientists learn how to control the minds of sharks, then use the animals to attack another nation? Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on history and mystery. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss a video again. Some of you may remember the movie Deep Blue Sea. In this film, scientists are searching for a cure to Alzheimer's disease. Working on an isolated research facility, they become the prey as a trio of intelligent sharks fight back. This movie has probably one of my favourite cinematic deaths, as the character played by the legend that is Samuel L. Jackson is eaten by a shark mid-epic dialogue.
We're gonna seal off this.
This is just a Hollywood fiction. There is no way anything like this could be real. Well, actually yes. Some claim that a similar scenario has played out and since been covered up. The story goes that over a 5-day period in December of 2010 at the Sharm el-Sheikh resort, which is found on the coast of the Red Sea at the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula, 5 unfortunate souls were attacked by sharks. Oceanic white-tip sharks to be more exact. The oceanic white-tip shark, also known as brown milbert sandbar shark, brown shark, Ningano shark, oceanic white-tipped whaler, and silver-tip shark, is a shark which inhabits tropical and warm temperate seas. Its stocky body is most notable for its long, white-tipped, rounded fins. The oceanic white-tip has earned a reputation for being the first to arrive on the scene when an ocean ship runs afoul, especially during times of war. The shark was blamed for many of the fatalities related to the sinking of the steamship Nova Scotia off the coast of South Africa during World War II. Only 192 of the nearly 1,000 men on board survived. Eyewitness accounts from survivors recounted a feeding frenzy as sharks attack men waiting in the water for rescue. The shark is described as opportunistic, bold, and unpredictable around divers, and thus should be treated with extreme caution. Of the 5 people that were attacked in this story, one woman lost her right hand and left leg, another's spine was bitten, a man needed his leg partially amputated, and the 5th victim was outright killed by these sharks. What makes this story so odd is that the white tips do not come near Sharm el-Sheikh in the winter. They are rarely seen in the summer months, and on top of this, they very rarely attack people. In fact, in just under the last 500 years, there has been just 9 recorded shark attacks by white tips, and they are not known to venture into waters that are so shallow and so close to shore. Egypt's tourism minister said this was unnatural and that they had no explanation for the attacks. A Captain Mustafa Ismail agreed the sharks were acting unnaturally. He reasoned that this unnatural behaviour was because they were being controlled by Egypt's enemy, Israel. Does Israel have mind-controlled sharks? In a series of events that would fit with the world's most famous shark movie, Jaws, fishermen set out to capture and kill the man-eaters. They were successful in capturing just 2 sharks. One, a 25-meter long, 150-kilogram oceanic white-tip, and the other, a 25-meter long, 250-kilogram mako shark. When the dead animals were taken to scientists to confirm that they were the man-eaters, they concluded that the 2 fish were not the ones responsible for the attacks. After the large shark hunt had taken place, there was one more attack, and this attack was fatal. This is when we get the first claimed evidence that these sharks were being controlled. Mustafa Ismail says one of the killer sharks was captured in Eilat, at the southernmost tip of Israel. The captured shark was found to have a GPS device planted in its back. He asked, why would these sharks travel 4,000 kilometers and not attack anyone until they entered the Sinai waters? A bigger question might be, why use such an unconventional weapon? Governor General Mohammed Abdel Fattah Shusha took the idea of mind-controlled sharks very seriously and said that an investigation was needed to determine if this was a military strike from Israel. The two countries have long had a difficult relationship, and there has been a number of conflicts. These were meant to cease with the signing of the peace treaty in 1979. The peace the countries share is described as a cold peace, often marked by political tensions, suspicion, and border incidents. This is where conspiracy creeps into the story. Theorists have put forward the idea that these were organized attacks carried out by sharks which were remote controlled. It's a crazy idea. To me, it sounds like a plan hatched by Dr. Evil.
Are those sharks with laser beams attached to their heads? Cool!
There is, however, some hard evidence. A biologist called Gel Etama proposed a program that would see him controlling sharks after implanting a neural control device. This device would allow the sharks to be piloted and even triggered to attack. They may not have lasers on their heads, but they would still make for a stealthy, deadly weapon. His plan was taken seriously, and he was allocated a budget of over $500,000. DARPA, a group which comes up so often when talking about this type of thing, wanted to use these sharks as spies. This technology was developed in the US, so how would it have made its way to Israel? It is possible that the USA would share this technology with Israel. The US has provided a lot of military aid to Israel for decades. In 2007, it signed a deal to give Israel $30 billion in military aid. In 2016, the government renewed the deal to cover the next decade, increasing the amount of aid to $38 billion. This money is at least 3 times more than it gives to any other country. This massive budget is returned to the US in a roundabout way, with Israel purchasing many weapons of war from the Americans. And this is what is claimed to have happened with these mind-controlled sharks. So, with this Bond-like plot unfolding, are we now living in a world of secret remote-controlled animals? What could be next? A radio-controlled lion attack? Or an army of mind-controlled crocodiles? Before we get too carried away, there may be a more down-to-earth explanation. After talking with biologist George Burgess, the regional governor General Mohammed Abdel Fattah Shusha believes that there were exceptional circumstances that triggered the sharks. The biologist had explained that the sharks were first drawn to the shore by sheep carcasses which had been dumped into the sea just a couple of weeks prior to the attacks. The bodies of the sheep were thought to be left over from the Islamic festival of Eid al-Adha and were illegally dumped in the ocean at the festival's end. Other experts who analysed the attacks suggested the sharks were also attracted by local diving companies habitually feeding sharks to draw them in for tourists to snap photos. This was then compounded by overfishing in the area, depleting the shark's natural food source. Another glaringly obvious flaw in the theory that these sharks were mind-controlled killers is that Dr. Atema's research was not entirely successful. The program found it very difficult to actually control the sharks. In fact, it was easier to train the sharks rather than hack their brains. Another problem is the sharks used in the research. They were not the large ocean-dwelling predators like the white tips. Instead, a smaller harmless relation, dogfish. White tips are also known to be opportunistic man-eaters. Jacques Cousteau called the oceanic white tip shark the most dangerous of sharks. Although there are fewer than 10 recorded attacks on humans, whitetips are actually responsible for more human fatalities than all other shark species combined, since they are the primary shark that preys on victims of shipwrecks and plane crashes. So what do you think? Were these attacks carried out by mind-controlled super sharks? A planned attack by Israelis to destroy the tourist industry? Or was this just an unfortunate series of events that brought the sharks into waters where they took the opportunity to grab an easy meal in the form of the swimmers who were attacked? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. If you would like to show your support for the channel, there are links in the video description. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.